Hey everybody, Jeremy Goodrich here from Shine Insurance. I get this question all the time from insurance agents, independent insurance agencies. How do I get access to insurance companies? And here's what I mean, right? In the insurance world, our product is an insurance policy. And there are hundreds and hundreds of insurance companies out there, all of whom specialize in different things. So if you have a couple of companies, that's great. You can probably do some home and auto insurance, maybe some simple small business insurance. But if you're going to do anything more complex, maybe it's high value homes, maybe it's apartment complexes, maybe it's other specialized business insurance, you have to go out and find more and more companies. On top of the fact that if you just want to make more competition in your agency, you want to make sure that companies are competing in your agency, and you want to make sure that you have the best pricing for the quality of coverage in your niche, in your area, whatever it is you're doing. So your product is insurance, but what you need to have is the best insurance policies out there. The better your product, the better you do. If you don't have access to the best companies, you're going to struggle as an independent insurance agent. So how do I get access to those companies? Well, you have to have some foundational knowledge of how the whole ecosystem works. And that is what this video is about. So what we'll cover today is the important terms that you need to understand, and then 3 different ways you can access insurance companies and the pros and cons of each. The first is direct, the second is an aggregator, and the third is a broker wholesaler. So let's dig into it. First, some important terms. One thing is binding authority. Binding authority is the ability to offer proof of coverage without the explicit permission of a company. Now, a lot of times you have binding authority with your directly appointed companies, which means if someone says, hey, I need to add a car to my policy with so-and-so company, if you have binding authority, you can say, yep, we've added the car. And of course, you're going to actually do it with the insurance company on the back end. That's a part of your processes and a part of your delivery. But when you say something is good, it's good. You have the authority to bind coverage with that company. So that's an important piece of information. Retail agent. This is what most of you are who are watching this video. This is the agent that is selling insurance directly to the policy holder. You are speaking to the policy holder about the insurance policy. If that is the case, you are a retail agent. We have to think about insurance as a product, right? If I have a retail store for my suntan lotion, that means I have suntan lotion at a store where clients can come in, customers can come in and buy my suntan lotion, right? I have to turn around and buy that from someone else, and we'll talk about that through this video. I may be buying that from the actual person who made the suntan lotion, or I may be buying it from some kind of distributor who has lots of different types of suntan lotion companies that they have a relationship with, and I, as the retail suntan lotion company, simply go to the distributor to get access to all those different suntan lotion options. So you are the retail agent if you're selling directly to clients. Wholesale agents are the agent acting as the middle person between the retail agent and the company. You could also call this the distributor, right? In that suntan lotion example, the distributor, their responsibility is to go make relationships with all the suntan lotion companies to have that product ready and available. So a retail store owner can call and say, hey, I need this kind of sunscreen, that kind of sunscreen, this other kind of sunscreen, and finally this fourth. And that distributor gets them what they need. It works out quite well. In the insurance world, that is called a wholesale agent. We also need to understand admitted versus non-admitted insurance companies. This is whether an insurance product is verified and backed by state law or not. When you can, you want to write admitted insurance policies. In fact, you're required by law to offer admitted options if you have them available to you, even if the price isn't as cheap as a non-admitted option. If you do not have admitted options available to you, if companies that are admitted have declined to offer a quote for the certain type of thing that you're trying to get insurance for, then you can go to non-admitted options, and we'll talk about that in a second. And finally, appointment. This is the terms of agreement between you and a company or broker, right? So you're going to go out to either these companies or these brokers and say, hey, I'd like to have a relationship with you. Are you willing to appoint me? And the company may say, nope, we're not willing to appoint you right now. Or they may say, yes, let's go through the appointment paperwork. You'll sign some documents, send them your E&O, deck pages, whatever it is they need, and you get appointed with that company. So those are the basic terms. Let's dig into all the different ways we can get access to companies. We have to understand at a basic level that what we're trying to do is connect an insurance policy with a policy holder, right? That is our goal. That is our intention. And everything that happens in between is working towards that end. So let's start with direct, right? So this is when I go directly to the insurance company. Now I've added a couple things in this image, right? We still have policy, we still have policy holder, but now in between we have the insurance company. Well, that's obvious. An insurance company is always going to be present, right? You can't just write your own insurance policy. You have to go to an insurance company whose job it is to create these policies for us and put them together, right? So the insurance company is always going to be there. And then a retail agent is incredibly common and incredibly important. In the insurance world, someone doesn't necessarily know what they need, and so having an advisor is incredibly important. Can someone go directly to the company and buy their insurance? Yeah, I mean, there's lots of options of how you can do that. Go to the State Farm website or whatever, right? But in our case, we have an agent here. Why do we have an agent? Because now you have an advisor. Now you have someone who can make sure that your policy is put together so that you have the coverage you need. I hate that Liberty Mutual commercial that says only pay for what you need. You don't know what you need. That's the whole point of insurance, is that you want to have as much coverage as makes sense for you, because you don't know what bad thing's going to happen, right? And so we want to make sure that you have coverage for as many bad things as is reasonable at the best price, of course. And so the first option for getting access to companies is this direct appointment. As the retail agent, you go to the insurance company. You go to West Bend. You go to Secura. You go to Travelers, Liberty Mutual, or whoever it is you want to get appointed with. And you say, hey, I'd like to get appointed with your insurance company. And they say, yeah, absolutely. We'd love to have you. You've got a great business plan. We like what you're doing. We think you're going to bring us great clients, and we're going to have some success together. Here are next steps. Well, that's great. The pros of that are there are fewer middle people. Everything else I'm about to say in this video involves more people, which means, more phone tag, more opportunities for mistakes, all those kinds of things, right? A direct appointment is great because you have direct access to that insurance company. It also means you generally have the highest commission, because when we go through other options, generally those options take some of the commission. Everybody wants to make money, right? And so that's how they make their money. So you get the highest commission, you have the direct access, you get to know the insurance company, you get to know your underwriters, the claims department. There's a couple of companies where I know the president of the company or the CEO of the company, so those are the best options. The big negative of direct appointments is they tend to have very high expectations. They want to know that they are one of your top 3 companies in your agency. They're going to be on you if you're not writing business with them. They could even decide not to work with you anymore if you don't write a certain volume of business with them. Their expectations are high. And so that's a negative of a direct appointment, is that the expectations of production and loss ratio and those kinds of things are really high. So that is the direct appointment. Generally, it is admitted, which means it's a part, standard state, and generally you have binding authority. That isn't always the case. You should always ask and document whether you have binding authority with a company or not, but generally you do have binding authority with a company. The next option is an aggregator. And there are some great aggregators out there: ISU, Iroquois, Keystone, SIA. There's a whole bunch of different aggregators. If you want to watch a video on that, I've created it. It's right there at the top of the screen. But there's all sorts of different aggregators. So what is an aggregator? Well, an aggregator is pretty cool because you still get direct access to the insurance company. You see, the flow here is exactly the same. That green arrow, I can still talk directly to the insurance company, but I got that access because I was part of a larger organization that company knows it has a bunch of agents that are writing together. It does usually mean that the money, when you get commission, like you write a policy, you get commission. Generally, the insurance company sends the aggregator that commission. They take something off the top, oftentimes like 3% or something like that, and then they pay the commission to you. So the pro of aggregators is you still get direct access. You talk specifically, or you talk directly to the insurance company underwriters. You have access to their systems and can quote in their online system if they have one. Everything is just like a direct appointment. But you didn't have to be the one to go get that appointment on your own. You had the entire aggregator's book of business that company is willing to work with. So the positive is you get these appointments that you wouldn't have been able to get otherwise, very likely, right? The other positive is you don't have as high of expectations of performance, right? The company is looking at the aggregator's performance as a whole. So whereas with a direct appointment, you may have to have, $200,000 of written premium a year for them to be happy with you. Through an aggregator, maybe it's $50,000 of written premium for them to be happy with you. There's less of a pressure to perform when you're working through an aggregator. The negative, obviously, is that the aggregator takes a cut of your commission. In some ways, that is the only negative because you really don't even engage with them otherwise. It just sort of happens in the background. It feels like a direct appointment. You feel like you have a direct appointment with the company. It's just that, financially, they take a little cut off the top. So that is an aggregator. Generally, it's access to the same kinds of companies as you would get direct. It's just that you can get access to companies in a way that you couldn't otherwise. We use both direct appointments and an aggregator at Shine Insurance. Our aggregator is Iroquois. And what's nice about Iroquois is they let us have direct appointments. Some aggregators say you're either with us or you're not. You're either in Keystone or you're not in Keystone. And so when you go into that, you can't go out and get direct appointments yourself. With Iroquois, I can use them for the companies I want to, and I can go get my own appointments with the companies that I know I can connect with on my own, and that combination makes a big difference. The other thing that's a potential negative with aggregators, and you really have to watch out, is do they own the book of business? Do they own the appointments? So if you stop working with them, if you decide you don't want to work with Keystone anymore, do you still have the appointments? Can you still do business, or do you have to basically start from scratch? If you start with an aggregator who is, you're basically trapped with them sometimes, and that can be a real problem that you have to be careful of at the beginning. So that is the aggregator, generally just like a direct appointment. It's just that the pressure's lower and you can get access to more companies. The downside is they take some of the commission along the way. Now, there is a whole world of wholesale brokers. Lots of different names for it. I'm using just wholesaler or broker. But the difference here is pretty big. You can see that we no longer have the ability to communicate directly with the insurance company when we're working through a wholesaler or broker. Both the communication and the money flow through that wholesaler or broker. So when I have a really hard to place risk, hard to place apartment complex or office building, maybe a vacant office building, whatever, I go to a broker and I send my apps in, send my habitation, my supplementals, send in whatever it is that they need. I send in a full submission. And then they go shopping for me. So they go out to 10 different insurance companies and they perform essentially the same role that I was performing as a retail agent with my companies before. I don't have access to a company that can solve the problem that the client needs, that can get the policy into the policyholder's hand. So I go to a wholesaler or broker. This is someone like RPS or Arlington Row or Amwins. Some of the biggest, those are some of the biggest ones, but there's lots and lots of these folks who you can go out to and then they essentially shop for you. they have access to a whole bunch more insurance companies, right? They can have access to some of the biggest companies. And of course, they're the ones that are responsible for production goals and things of that nature with the insurance company. You don't have any direct relationship with that insurance company. It's right back to my sunscreen metaphor, right? They are talking with the sunscreen manufacturers and bringing it in to their distribution center. You don't have to worry about any of that kind of stuff. You just say, hey, what do you have, distributor? What do you have, wholesaler? Okay, I'll buy that off of you, right? I'll get that from you. You don't have any relationship as the retail agent with the insurance company that's creating the policy. You're counting on the wholesale broker to have that relationship. Now, therein lies some of the positives and some of the negatives. The big negative of wholesalers and brokers is you do not have control over the conversation and relationship with company underwriters, with claims departments, with billing departments. If you don't have a good wholesaler and a good relationship there, the conversation can go south really quickly, and you who are representing to the policyholder that hey, I've got you, I'm going to take care of you, you go and turn to the wholesaler or broker, and then you're counting on them, you're trusting them to really push the company for whatever it is you need, right? And that can create major problems. Over the history of Shine, I've had more problems with wholesalers and brokers in tough situations than anything else, because I can't go up the ladder with the company. I can't say to an underwriter, well, I disagree with where you're coming from. I'm going to go to your supervisor and take it from there. I am limited to only my relationship with the wholesaler broker. The other negative here is you tend to make less money, right? So you get less commission out of this relationship. It can vary widely, but you tend to get less commission here. So that is the wholesaler or broker. So we have direct appointments right with the company, pros and cons of that. Aggregators who give us appointments to essentially those same main companies, and then wholesalers or brokers who we don't have an appointment at all, right? We have no binding authority. Oftentimes, these are non-admitted companies because oftentimes these are tougher to place risk. That's not always true, but it can be true a lot. There you go. So those are the ways that we can get access to insurance company. I hope this opened your mind to how the system works and what you can do to access companies. Each has its pros and cons. Your goal should be to have some direct appointments, unless you've bought into an aggregator and you know that that's what you're going to do. You're in that bubble, which is totally fine. Then that's obviously you're not going to have any direct appointments if that aggregator does not let you have direct appointments. But these are the ways you can get access to insurance companies. I hope this was helpful. If it was, will you put a comment down in the comments? Let us know, who is your aggregator? Who are you working with? Who is a wholesaler that you trust? Who's a wholesaler you've had a ton of trouble with? I made this video because someone commented on another video about the trouble they're having with one of their wholesalers. And I thought, it's really important to let you know all the different ways to access. Also, if you haven't done so already, please join our Facebook group, My First Million in Insurance. This is a community where we're working together to help each other out, to rise by lifting others in the insurance world, making ourselves better at what we do, and certainly lifting each other up in the process. All right, until the next time, have a wonderful day.